The National Privacy Commission wants to further investigate an alleged massive data breach that hit several government agencies. A report by cybersecurity research company VPN Mentor reveals more than 1 million applicant and employee records were compromised, including birth certificates, tax filing records, and police identification cards. The NPC met with government agencies that were supposedly affected, which includes the Philippine National Police, the National Bureau of Investigation, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, and the Civil Service Commission. The NPC will conduct an on-site investigation at the PNP, which could not confirm whether it was hit by a leak. The PNP has requested more time to validate and review its system, while the NBI, BIR, and CSC said there was no data breach on their end after conducting their own investigations. Well, we speak now to the author of the cybersecurity report, Jeremiah Fowler, joins us now from Amsterdam. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us. This is a very serious data breach that has happened in the Philippines. How did you uncover this alleged data leak involving Philippine law enforcement agencies? You're on mute, Jeremy.
Leave it to the cybersecurity technical guy to be on mute. It's a pleasure to be here with you today and talk about this serious issue. As a cybersecurity researcher, we're always looking for data where data is. And when we find data that's sensitive or valuable, the first thing we do is identify who it belongs to and then send a responsible disclosure notice. And in this case, because we saw multiple agencies, it wasn't so easy to nail down exactly who it belonged to. So when I sent my responsible disclosure notice, I sent it to multiple agencies.
And how long did it take for you to get hold of these documents, Jeremy?
You mean the physical documents themselves were publicly accessible. So basically anyone with internet connection and a open source browsing tool could have seen the. And I say this, not everyone is out looking for data, but you have ethical security, and then you have bad guys who are looking to exploit this data.
Do you think that this data will be exploited by those who breached?
Oh, no, that's me to say. Only a forensic audit would determine, how long it was exposed, who the eventual owner of that data was. That's one of the real fears with any data exposure is if that data ends up in the wrong hands, if it ends up on the dark web, a person's identity lasts their lifetime, where a data breach can come and go, once the records are secure. So it's really an important learning, now to really take a look at how data is collected, how it's stored, and who has access to that data.
And when do you think, Jeremiah, did this breach take place? And who do you think breached the database system?
Well, it's not about pointing the finger at one agency or one. Many times I've been doing a decade, and I've discovered thousands of databases, millions of records of people all around the world. Many times I've seen where a third-party contractor will have access to these records, or an individual developer working from home will back something up. That's not uncommon. So it's not about pointing the finger at an individual agency. It's about using this as a learning experience. I can't determine how long it was exposed. I can only identify when I found it and when it was closed. And I forget the acronym for the actual agency that does the cert, but they were extremely helpful. They were always in contact. Every time I sent a message out, they would give me an update. So I think they worked really hard to try to find out who owned this database and get it secured.
Share with us, is it quite common that government agencies have non-password protected databases?
There's a few ways to answer that. I always say when it comes to a data breach, it's not if it happens. And, even the United States, where I'm from, we've suffered catastrophic data breaches in the past, and you learn from it, you reevaluate your protocol and policies, and you become more strong after a data exposure. During the coronavirus, during COVID, we saw a tidal wave of data breaches where employees would work from home or remotely, and the firewall protection or password protections for these databases would be open, accidentally for everyone, when it should have only been open for a small number of authorized individuals.
The National Privacy Commission, Jeremiah, has ordered you to appear before this commission on April 21st to aid in the investigation. Will you make this appearance before the National Privacy Commission?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as an ethical security researcher, we've worked with government agencies in the past, usually not as the subject of questioning, but we've helped take down spam farms and different other criminal activities. Absolutely. My goal is to help, not harm. Any information that I can provide that will help their internal investigation, I'm very happy to.
And Jeremiah, what are your recommendations to the Philippine government moving forward to prevent similar incidents from taking place yet again?
Well, one, it would be data controls. Who accesses that data? Who has credentials for that data? And then once again, knowing where all of your backups are and having a responsible team that is constantly checking for exposed IP addresses, out-of-date software, patch management. There's a range of different things that you can do. But, at the end of the day, nothing is 100% secure. I would highly recommend that they start encrypting all data, and employees or applicants where the data is no longer needed, delete it securely and don't store unnecessary data when you don't need it.
Jeremiah, could it also be a problem that the government is not making sufficient investments in strengthening its cybersecurity controls?
Well, that's a little out of my realm. I can't speak on behalf of the Philippine government or at the end of the day, cybersecurity starts a lot of times with non-technical people, people who need access, but shouldn't, should have very restricted access. When you look at cybersecurity and view it as everyone's responsibility and everyone's problem, that's when the culture changes and the focus changes of how important cybersecurity is. I think the Philippines does a good job of having these agencies in place, like the Privacy Commission and the CERT, because this is the communication. If it happens, you have the communication channel where a security researcher like myself or another nation state can communicate exactly what's found and what the steps should be taken. So in that case, the Philippines does it right, in my opinion.
Thank you so much for your insights and for joining us on The Final Word. Cybersecurity expert Jeremiah Fowler joining us from Amsterdam.